It's going to start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Jillian Sedod, joined by my co-host,
Nate Dodson.
That's right.
It worked.
We never do it right. Today's guest is Kevin Thompson. He is the host of the $1 Million Relationship Podcast and the founder of the Impact and Legacy Collective. And I have been speaking to Kevin about a bunch of different things, and I thought he's on the podcast because he has some really interesting stories. And Kevin, I want you to tell the story of the $14.5 million ugly website and how you made money from that, because we deal all the time with entrepreneurs who fail to start because they're waiting for perfection. So tell me all about it.
Okay. Well, so this goes back a ways because it was in 2000 that I launched that website. And I probably one of the ugliest websites on the internet. It was called getmoldsolutions.com was the name of the website. And that website was an extension of the cleaning and restoration business that I ran. And we just, that was a local business that we ran. We did carpet cleaning, we did water damage restoration when people had flooding in their homes, and that kind of thing. And I just saw, what happened is I attended this seminar and saw these people doing some really cool stuff online. And of course, I wasn't really using the internet that much at all at that time, but I thought wow, what if I could use the internet, and instead of just having a local impact with our business, we could have a nationwide and even worldwide impact with the business. And so at that time, mold was a big issue. In fact, Ed McMahon had at that time had a big mold issue in his home, and it was all in the media and all of this kind of stuff. And how to deal with water damage to prevent mold growth. And of course, insurance companies were going nuts because now all of these people were calling in saying they got mold growing in their homes and stuff. And so we started this website, and I just started educating people on the topic of water damage and mold growth and all that. And we ended up creating an information product. We started selling mold test kits, mold cleaning product. I ended up partnering with a physician because people started asking me medical questions. And I'm like, what makes anybody think I got medical credentials here? And so I partnered with a doctor, Dr. Andrew Campbell out of Spring, Texas, and he started fielding medical questions and ended up picking up clients as a result of that. People flew across the country to meet with this doctor and stuff.
Did he rebrand to Dr. Mold?
Yes. He specialized in working with people who had been exposed to mold growth, who had significant health issues because of that. And we ended up, creating a website that was producing about $15,000 a month in revenue, and off of and I also created a subscriber list of about 35,000 people from across the country and even around the world. And one of the things I did on my website is I referred to myself as the nation's mold solutions expert. And there were other people in the industry who got quite offended by that because, I lived in this little podunk town of Arlington, Washington, about 40 miles north of Seattle. And maybe they lived in a bigger community like, I don't know, Seattle or LA or whatever. And they're like, who do you think you are calling yourself the nation's mold solutions expert? But thanks to that website, and me being able to build a subscriber list of about 35,000 people, it kind of came to pass because I was talking with more people about the subject of water damage and mold and what to do about it than anybody else in the industry, thanks to the internet and technology. And so that's kind of the story behind that.
Do you think, go ahead, Nate. I'm sorry. I'm just so fascinated. Go ahead.
It's like a nonstop fun and game, but we got King Mold here. But I'm super interested in how King Mold managed to build his website. Like, what kind of marketing were you doing? Was it podcasts? Was it SEO? Was it pay-per-click? Like back in 2000, like the world is completely different than it is today. And there wasn't even a Facebook there. So how did you build this huge base back in 2000?
So what I did was I started out, there were these websites that you could run like classified ads on and stuff. And so there were all kinds of different classified ads for different things. But I just ran these simple little ads that said, water damage, don't hire anybody until you get this free report. The whole free report thing was a big thing back then, offering free reports to in exchange for contact information. And so that was what I did. Is I would just advertise on all these different sites that offered classified placements and stuff. And then I believe it was in 2004 was when the Google AdWords program launched. And when Google AdWords came on the scene, oh man, that was a boon for that business and stuff, because now I could do the same kind of thing. I could run these little ads on Google and 5 cents a click. I was driving tons of traffic to our website,
Do you think that still works? Do you think that is the way to go these days?
Well, you're not going to get 5 cent clicks from Google AdWords program now. It's way more than that.
Yeah.
And
we did it for the law firm. I think we were paying like $12 to $13 a click for every click. But a law firm was a little bit more expensive of the keywords to use too.
You bet. Yeah. And you get a client, for the law firm, and it's more valuable than getting a client for a website selling mold products and that kind of stuff, and so. But yeah, I mean, the Google AdWords program still totally exists and stuff, and you can still do that. But yeah, you're not going to get 5 cent clicks. It's going to be considerably more. And so you've got to have marketing in place that's going to work and produce results and stuff for sure. But yeah, and Perry Marshall, he back in 2004, he started playing around with that Google AdWords program, that it was brand new and stuff. And then he ended up publishing a thing called the Definitive Guide to Google AdWords, which that's what I invested in. I think I paid $297 for that manual that he offered. And that's what I used to learn the Google AdWords program and start using it. And he sold, I don't know how many copies of that course over the years, but a lot,
Did he start out giving you a free report?
You know what? I don't know if I don't recall that he did, but Joe Polish did back in the day because that's how I started that cleaning and restoration company we launched that business in 1995. I had spent 7 years working as a commercial fisherman on Alaska's Bering Sea prior to that to save up money to start my own business.
Wow.
And I blew through about $300,000 in the first year. I didn't have a clue what I was doing in business, you guys. and I found this article in a trade magazine for the cleaning and restoration industry from Joe Polish. And he was offering a free report that I'm going to show you how to get more clients in a month than you currently get all year. And I responded to that and got a lengthy, I bet that report / sales letter that he sent me was probably about 24, 30 pages, something like that. And I read through that and I'm like, man, this really resonated. I invested in his course and got involved in his coaching and all of that. And with his help over the next 3 years, we completely transformed that business that I was running. And of course, starting the website was a part of that. So
about, that is all awesome. And one of the things you talk about is being a conduit of trust and building relationships and talking about how the relationship's more important than the actual product itself, which I think is going to continue to be true in this
really
AI. Yeah. Maybe even more so. But like how now that you know everything that you know about building a business, being a conduit of trust, how do people conduct themselves, do you think, in this environment of AI now?
Well, so AI, there's a lot of great things coming from AI, and there's a lot of craziness coming from AI too and stuff, and AI is definitely, I mean, now, because now we're at a point now where we can get voice messages from people that we might think is our mother or father or another relative, and we like really question, like, wow, this sounds like my brother. And maybe it's not. And we see a video on the internet or what have you, and we like, is that real or is that AI? And we really question that. And so, as much great things are coming from AI, we are also, I mean, we're in a serious trust recession right now, also because of AI. And more than ever, people are looking for real, meaningful relationships and connection with people that they can just trust, And so trust is definitely becoming an incredibly valuable asset. And like, dang, I'm in conversations pretty much all day during the work week with entrepreneurs, and this subject comes up all the time. And so it is a huge issue. It's a huge issue.
Kind of an interesting side story, and only because you're bringing up the trust in the AI. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, and would love your thoughts on it. But it was a company that had a whole advertising campaign that they had their ad. It looked like a speech with somebody that was being presenting on stage, but then they used AI to recreate this same ad using different people speaking from the stage, different dialects speaking from the stage, but they're all saying the exact same thing. So they're using that trust of somebody that's publicly speaking, but the reality is it was all AI.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it really gives you pause though, doesn't it? Because it shows you what is possible. And it's not, I mean, we're already seeing at the rate at which AI expands and grows so doggone quickly. I mean, like, and like, so it will definitely get to the point where we won't be able to tell the difference, and so it's like, I mean, I can't foresee the future, but what I do know is from conversations that I'm already having, trust is becoming a more and more valuable asset day by day, and just being that person that people can trust in. And there's two kinds of trust. There's trust in competence, that we are like capable of doing whatever it is that we do. And then there's also trust in character, that people can just trust us as a person, and to do simple things like honor our word and show up on a time at a scheduled appointment, I mean, just stuff like that. And like, we are constantly either showing that we are a person that is trustworthy, or that we're not, when we're constantly just showing up that way.
Yeah, so this is great. And I love that we got to this point of the conversation, because so many of our listeners, what we teach them is how to raise capital. And the very first thing Nate and I tell people is that you got to get people to do what? Know, like, and trust you before they're ever going to invest a single dime. So knowing that, like, what do you think, how can we get past that superficial stage and get people to become the conduit of trust, as you say? Like, how do you change that from just being a good networker and a connector to actually getting somebody to trust you?
Well, for me, it's been really simple. I am this guy who just absolutely loves talking with entrepreneurs. And I have so much respect for entrepreneurs because I've been one for 33 years. And I know, after 33 years, and, Jillian, you and Nate, you've been through it too. We have been entrepreneurs long enough where we've seen the ebbs and the flows and the highs and the lows, and we've seen it all. And just because we might be like really good at this thing over here, or these few things over here, and might even be world class at them. Well, we've still got all this other stuff over here that we kind of suck at.
That's why we have staff.
And so, but that is reality for every entrepreneur. And so, trying to show up, like we look at networking situations, a lot of people will look at networking situations because they're finite. They're only for whatever amount of time it is, whether it's an evening get together for maybe a few hours, or maybe it's an event where we've traveled to be a part of it and it's there for 2 or 3 days. Whatever the situation is, it's a finite time period. And so a lot of people go into those kind of environments and they have the attitude of, I need to make hay while the sun is shining because I've only got so much time here. And so therefore they're like network, trying to connect with everybody. And I don't know if business cards are still a thing or not. I have never used a business card, but there was a time when people did, and passing out business cards and collecting business cards and just, connecting, trying to connect with as many people as possible. Then you get home and maybe you got this big old stack of business cards and now you're going through them and like, you don't remember who a single person was because you didn't connect with anybody.
And you just have those stacks. Stacks and stacks of business cards. Don't know who a single person is.
That's right. And I couldn't clearly articulate this years ago, but I certainly can now. When I go to, even if I go to a 2 or 3 day event, if I end up having meaningful conversation and connection with 5 or 6 people, man, I'm on cloud 9, because it wasn't just a simple connection. It was a sit down over a meal for an hour or an hour and a half. It was a conversation in the evening after the event was done. And it was making a real meaningful connection. And even a lot of people in those environments, they'll get into conversations, but they're asking questions only to get the conversation going. And then they're just waiting really for their turn to talk because they want to talk about them and what they do and hopefully get business from it or what have you. And then there's other people who maybe they think they're terrible networkers and they're more of an introvert. And they really don't even like that kind of environment, but they go because this is what entrepreneurs do. This is what business people do. But I don't even know how to carry a conversation. And here's the reality, and this is what I've discovered that I can now clearly articulate. We don't have to carry a conversation. All we do is we just ask a great question to start the conversation. And one of the questions that I love asking of entrepreneurs is I love asking them, what are you working on right now that has you most jazzed and inspired? And I'll tell you what, when you ask an entrepreneur that question, you're going to get them talking. They will, I guarantee you, they're going to start talking. And they're going to start talking about stuff. And then as they're sharing stuff with us, I'm actually listening to them because I'm genuinely interested in knowing what they're sharing with me. And then I start asking them more questions about what it is they're sharing with me. And I never worry about getting my turn to talk. I never worry about that. I don't give it, I could care less about getting my turn to talk. I just am going to let them share and I'll keep on asking them questions and stuff. And because what happens is by showing up that way, and like I said, I couldn't even articulate this years ago. I just did this because I'm just this naturally curious guy. And, but now I can articulate it because so many people have given me feedback on it and stuff. And in fact, I started the $1 Million Relationships podcast. We started 4 years ago. One of the first 10 guys I interviewed was this guy, Nick. And I had known Nick from like 10 years prior. And I caught up with him and just said, hey, I want to interview you for the podcast. And he starts telling me, Kevin, he said, man, I would love to do that. And he said, you know what? One of the stories I'm going to tell is that story of like you and I. He's like, you remember that place where Kevin Nations used to hold his events down in Henderson, Nevada and stuff, that really cool facility? I'm like, oh yeah, that was a cool place. He's like, you know what? I will never forget that conversation that you and I had that one day at Kevin's event. And he's like, Kevin, I have always remembered that, and how you just made me feel so seen and heard and understood. And as he's telling me this, like 10 years later, I didn't remember the conversation at all. I did not remember that conversation. I couldn't even tell you what we talked about, but he sure as heck did. And that's what happens when we show up this way. We give people this gift that they so seldom get to receive, which is this gift of feeling seen, heard, and understood. And that's the impact that we make. And then when you're having a conversation like that, trust me, you're going to get to the point where they're going to be like, well, she's Kevin, enough about me. Tell me about you. What are you working on that you're jazzed and inspired about? You know, they're going to naturally want to know about us. And that's a whole lot different dynamic than us trying to tell them all about us versus them being genuinely interested in learning about us.
You know, I had a client. What you're saying is so resonates with me so much, and it's just so true. I had this client years and years ago. He was a rapper and a fashion designer, and he had a fashion company he was trying to raise capital for. And he would just go to places like the Montage Beverly Hills and hang out there for tea time. And he'd wait to open a conversation with somebody who was sitting there. And he met more famous people this way, like all kinds of fame. I couldn't drop names, but it doesn't matter. But he met all kinds of famous people and people in the business and, you know, wealthy people around the Los Angeles area. And he always started the conversation with complimenting the person he was talking to. Like, you know, that color is a really good color on you. Or that's a beautiful watch. I love that watch. Or in one case, when I was with him one day, he leaned over and said, "You ladies look like you're having a good time. Are you celebrating something today?" And he just got them talking, and then he would ask them questions. And it was exactly like you said. He would never talk about himself. He would only ask questions about the other person until that person asked him about who he was. And he would say, "Oh, I'm starting a fashion company." And they became suddenly very interested in it. As opposed to him pushing his fashion company onto somebody. He'd say, "Oh, I'm starting a fashion company and this is what we do." And people would get curious. And so then when it was time for him to raise money, he made 3 phone calls and raised $2 million. And it was like that simple for him because he had made connections where he just showed interest in people. And the other thing is, folks, what that gentleman did, he had this rule where he had to talk to 50 new people a day. He just did it for like 6 months straight, 50 new people a day, and took a picture with them so he could remember who they were, and then took their contact information.
Wow.
And was able to raise capital so fast when he was ready to raise capital.
Yeah.
And it was just showing interest in other people.
Yeah.
I think
just being genuinely interested.
That's really the new business card. Taking the picture, texting somebody, here's my contact information. Then when they text you or reach out, like your picture pops up.
You remember each other. Yes.
So much easier than a business card. I haven't carried one in years, but I sure use that. And if I can hit 50 of those texts at a conference, I call it a big win.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like, that's such great advice. I hope everybody who's listening right now, like, really understood, like, when the urge to pitch is there, resist.
Yeah.
Just ask questions about the other person. Wait for them to ask you a question.
Well, and it's like you said at the beginning of this conversation, Jillian, that, you know, nobody's going to like do business with us. Nobody's going to invest in us if, like you said, they don't know, like, and trust us. And they don't get to know, like, and trust us by us pitching our stuff. You know, they get to know, like, and trust us by interacting with us and having conversation with us and getting to know us and stuff, and us being genuinely interested in them. And people can also sense when we're not genuinely interested in them.
Yeah.
They can also
totally looking around. Right.
They can sense all that. Yeah, no.
Absolutely. Okay, now you've talked about something called, I want to shift gears for a second. You've talked about something called the Active Appreciation Challenge. What is that? Explain that to our listeners if
So
you
it's kind
could.
of like what you were just talking about, how your friend does.
Yeah.
It's a take on that, and so here's the thing: no matter how successful somebody is, no matter how big their business might be, no matter how great things might look from the outside looking in, there is not a person on the face of this earth that gets too much appreciation. Not one. We all crave more genuine appreciation. And so I've been doing this challenge for a while for the simple purpose of to just get people in the mindset of being genuinely appreciative of other people and taking an active role in doing that, just letting that be who you are. And so we've all got a cell phone with contacts in it. And that can be that it might be personal friends, it might be business friends, it might be family, it might be what have you. And so for the purpose of the challenge, what I tell people is like, choose 10 people from your phone and you send those 10 people a message, and do this within a 24-hour period. I mean, heck, you can do it way faster than 24 hours, but send messages to 10 people. And in those messages, all you do is let each of those people know one thing that you genuinely appreciate about them. And you just send out some love. You don't ask for anything in return. You just send out some love, show some appreciation, and you watch what happens. And you're going to have such an amazing experience with that. And so are they. And you're also going to come to the realization that your actions were the catalyst for that experience. And you'll realize that, like, wow, I can recreate that whenever I want just by being genuinely appreciative of people. And so, and I say, take the challenge, do it in a 24-hour period with 10 people. A lot of times people get back and then I'll tell them, okay, and after you've done it, if you do it, then hit me up on Facebook. I'm Kevin the Connector on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn too. I'm harder to find on LinkedIn because there's way more Kevin Thompsons that are a lot more famous than I am. And but on Kevin the Connector on Facebook, you can easily find me, and then tell me about your experience. And if you do this and you tell me about your experience, I'd be totally honored to make time to talk and how we can maybe do some more together and stuff. And it's been that big of a deal in my life over the years, and it has gotten me into so many conversations just by even reaching out to people cold and saying, I mean, I saw yesterday this guy put a post up on LinkedIn that he was starting a brand new podcast, and he's done 4 episodes. And it is the most amazing experience. And it's a very unique podcast in the construction industry, but it's a very specialized topic in that industry. He's 4 episodes in, and he made the comment. He's like, I never planned this. In fact, this was like nowhere on my radar. And I had to chuckle because I say that a lot. I was like, when I started my podcast 4 years ago, at the time when my buddy Brad told me to do it, it was nowhere on. I mean, I'm like, podcast? What are you talking about, Brad? I mean, nothing could be further off my radar, And so I messaged this guy, and I'm like, man, congratulations on the experience you're having with your podcast. When I launched my podcast 4 years, it was nowhere on my radar either. And yet here we are, 400 episodes in, and it's been the most amazing experience ever. And so I was like, kudos to you. And I hope you and your guests and your listeners all get to have the same kind of experience that it's been for me. Well, that got us into a dialogue. And now he was like, Kevin, can we make time to talk? I want to talk more with you about this. And we've already scheduled time to talk, and he was a random guy I just met on LinkedIn yesterday, and I'll give you another example. There's this gal. So I did an interview for the podcast yesterday. And this guy, Ethan Giffen is his name. And I had a pre-interview conversation with him like a month ago on June 25th. And at that time, he ended up sending me this copy of his book. And he sent me this book of his. It's called Closing the Digital Revenue Gap. And he works with distributors and big, like multi-million-dollar companies and stuff. And it was a quick read. It was only like 60 pages. And it was actually really fascinating. And because I was so fascinated by the book, that really led to a powerful interview that him and I did yesterday. And both of us, when we're done, it's like, man, what a great experience that was. And now him and I are talking about how we might be able to do some more stuff together and how I might be able to help him make some connections for him. And it got me thinking. I was like, well, I knew it during the interview because at the beginning, the girl that introduced us is this girl named Brianna. And she works with this company, Interview Valet. And so I honored her at the beginning of the interview that we did. And I talked about her a little bit. And then after the interview, I sent her an email. And I was like, Brianna, you know what? I just did this interview with Ethan today. And it just really got me thinking about you, so much so that, I honored you at the beginning of the interview. In fact, here's the link if you want to go check it out and stuff. But I just want to thank you so much because, over the last 2.5, 3 years, you have sent me some absolutely amazing guests for the podcast. And I just so appreciate you. And I love getting emails from you. And it's like Christmas time every time I get one from you because I never know what's going to be in there. But I'm like, oh, this is going to be good because it's from Brianna, And she got back to me and she was like, oh my gosh, Kev, thank you so. I mean, she was just beside herself, And so this whole thing of just being genuinely appreciative of other people. I challenge you, take that active appreciation challenge, have that experience, and then just let that become part of who you are, because you just start showing up. You're gonna just reach out to people out of nowhere and just be genuinely appreciative. And like, not everybody will get back to you, but lots of people will get back to you, and they're going to be just like, wow, thanks so much for noticing, or thanks so much. And it'll start a dialogue and new friendship. And who knows? I mean, that has been such a huge part of where, of getting me to where I'm at today and being this connector and conduit of trust for so many amazing entrepreneurs.
It seems to me that the message really is then, pay attention to the positive and then say something about it. If you pay attention to the positive, then, but you have to pay attention. You have to be looking for it. And then offering some kind of compliment or some like recognition, if you will.
That's right. That's right.
So that's a great, who's great at that? Nate Dodson.
I was going to say you are phenomenal at that, and I was looking forward to texting you later today. Share it all about that.
Nate's really good at it. Nate's
that's awesome that both of you think the other is really good at it.
No, he really is though. I honestly, like, the entire time I'm like, who's really good at this is Nate. Who's really good at it is Nate. So, but he is. He knows how to appreciate. He says the phrase "I appreciate you" all the time. It's like part of his nomenclature. But it makes you go like, yeah, even if Nate pissed me off today, I'm still going to work with him because he appreciates me.
Yeah.
That's part of the secret. She would have quit working with me for like years ago if I didn't remind her, no. I know I'm a jerk, but I still appreciate you. So please put up with me at least another week.
No, Nate's great. I'm totally kidding. But Kev, Nate, I'm going to give you the last question. This has been inspiring to me. I cannot wait to go to my coaching call that I conduct on Thursdays for my capital raisers and share this with them about, being curious and offering appreciation and doing and being interested in your investor before your investor is interested in you, because it's going to change the trajectory of their capital raising. I really think so. But Nate, I'm going to give you the last question.
Yeah, I do have an important question. It kind of ties what we do often together with, Kevin, what you're speaking on with drawing people in. But we're in business. there's always some goals of why you're having a conversation, a goal of why you're speaking to someone. And are you using the questions to guide the conversation to that goal, or just a genuine appreciation or just general questions waiting for your chance to speak, basically, in sharing whatever your goals may be with whatever conversation? There's always a goal with the conversation in business.
So I will tell you, for me personally, my goal of a conversation like that is simply to get to know that person and stuff, and find out more about who they are and who they serve and what they do and how they show up and what's important to them, all of those kind of things. Because candidly, in my world and doing what I do, I always joke about this with people. But I'm like, if I'm going to serve you as a client in a client kind of a relationship, you have to make me look good. And it always kind of gets a chuckle and a giggle or what have you. But yet it's so true, because, for 22 years now, whenever I make an introduction for somebody, for two people, because there's always more than one person involved when you're making introductions, I've always used a really simple litmus test. And that litmus test is, when I'm introducing these two people, is doing this going to help me further the relationship that I already have with each of these people? And that's been it the whole time. And if I did not feel that way, then I would have never made that introduction, because regardless of what comes from it, I want both people coming back to me going, wow, Kev, thanks so much for introducing me to Joe. Man, what a great guy Joe is, And candidly, I want to see business come. But always I want it to further the relationship. And because I've been doing that for 22 years, I have now created a whole lot of relationship capital with a whole lot of the right people. And that's what allows me today to be able to make such valuable introductions, to be able to bypass, all the security and the receptionist or assistants or what have you. We're not going to go in the front door. Here, come over here. We're going to go in this side door over here, and I'm going to introduce you to the exact person that you need to connect with and stuff, Yeah. And I'm going to tell you what, I ain't going to lie. I love being that guy. I love being that guy, And I had one of my own friends about, I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago. He's a billionaire, and he made the comment to me, and that's when I really understood my value. We were having a conversation. I had just recently connected him with someone. He was telling me what an amazing things had been going on in their relationship since I had introduced them and stuff. And he told me, he's like, Kevin, he's like, don't ever stop doing what you do, because you are my conduit of trust. And he's like, anytime anybody comes through you, they go right to the front of the line just because they came through you. They get my immediate attention. And that's when that was, oh my gosh, that's it. That's my role right there. I am the conduit of trust for the people that I serve. And so I can only do what I do with people who have certain foundational things in place. It doesn't make any sense for me to do what I do if somebody doesn't have a business where they're already able to effectively communicate their value so that people that their ideal client can buy from them and say, yeah, of course, yes, I want your help. I want you to help us. They have to have that already all figured out, because that's not my thing. That's not what I do. They also have to be a giver. I mean, through and through. I mean, if they are somebody who is a taker and that they're always looking at like, what can I get from this? That would be catastrophic for me, bringing somebody like that into my world. And I would never, ever risk it. And so all these conversations, I'm just getting to know them and find out who they are and what they're all about and how do they show up. And then I'll invite them to something. And like, yes, I get to give. And they like that, like, oh, wow, that sounds like a great experience. And damn right, it is a great experience. But simultaneously, I'm also wanting to see, how do they show up in an environment like that? How do other people respond to them in an environment like that? And like, I want to see all that stuff too, because if people don't respond well to them or they don't show up the right way, and there's, it's like, well, I wouldn't be able to serve them, And so, I don't have an agenda in having conversations other than just get to know somebody and stuff. And it's really best when we show up that way. And because then as we do get to know each other, trust gets created with the right people. And then when it comes to doing business, by the time we get to that point, because there is that trust in character, there's trust in competence, and then there's also this alignment of interests and alignment of values. And when those four things are present, it is so doggone easy to do business from there. And that's what I want to do, is I just want to get to that place. I want to get to that intersection where the magic can just happen and stuff.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us today. How can people reach out to you so they can ask all about you and then compliment you, and then you can ask them about them?
They can appreciate.
Well, I'm active on Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff. I have a website, but don't even worry about the website.
It's an ugly website, right?
Yeah, and so, but yeah, I'm Kevin the Connector on Facebook. That'll be really easy to find me. And like I said, there's Kevin Thompsons who are attorneys and actors and sports figures, and so so I'm harder to find on LinkedIn because of that and stuff. I might be harder to find on Facebook, but it's easy to find Kevin the Connector on Facebook, So
Kevin the Connector, everybody. And if you want, you can go look for me. There's not too many Jillian Sedodis, and I'm connected with Kevin on Facebook, so you can find him through me as well. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the Entrepreneur Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.